Hello, and welcome back for your daily dose of LOL Esports content. We're going to cover the LPL and LCK series that took place earlier today, as well as preview tomorrow's series in both China and Korea as well. Predictions: I'm 39 and 21, went 3 and 1 on the day, did not get that upset win for Thunder Talk over LNG. If you've been around my channel for a long time, you'll know that Thunder Talk, because they drop out of my top 25 in my power rankings, that's the recipe for Thunder Talk to win. When I doubt Thunder Talk, they win. When I root for Thunder Talk, they lose. So LPL Weibo, Rare Adam start us off. Weibo 11th in my power rankings with 2-0 RA. Xiaohu was my MVP, playing Talia both games. Light 7-3-11, 32% of damage. Crisp 1-0-22. So the bot lane went 8-3 and 33 combined. Assume 4-4-4. 34% of damage in the loss. Now, how did this transpire? Well, I'll tell you, Rare Adam had quite a lead in game one. At the end of laning phase at 17 minutes, they're up 3.7k gold. Had 37 CS in top lane, Zhaozhou over ZDZ. They had taken a trip topside. Nio looked actually really good in this series. I thought that he outplayed Zhao Hao, to be honest with you. And I'm a Zhao Hao supporter. I thought Nio looked excellent. Really did. I don't watch Demacia Cup. I wait for the real games, and he showed up today. 33 CS lead for the bot lane of Rare Adam in game one as well. However, despite Nio's Poppy and Zhaozhou's Kesante and all that activity, they couldn't get the job done. In the mid to late game, Xiaohu on the Talia had excellent engages, weaver walls, and things of that nature, and really won the game for them, in my opinion. His setup was, it couldn't come any later because they were getting blown out in the early game and mid game, but he came through. And honestly, this game I think was only like a 25-minute game or so that just blew up after one team fight where Weibo were able to get a couple kills and then just 5v3 end. Honestly, today's games in general were not high kill in the LPL, which is a surprise because the LPL is usually the one that's a little more entertaining to watch. In game two, Weibo had a slight gold lead, about 1.5k gold at 16 minutes. A lot of that lead for Zhao Hao, up 24 CS over Nio at that moment. But Nio had developed a lead in mid lane for Vikla. He went mid a few times. The team clearly wanting to get mid lane ahead in game two, where Zhao Hao clearly wanted to get the bot lane ahead. They had made 3 trips to the bot side trying to affect things, took a couple drakes with that prio. So the Xin Zhao was quite dominant in that one. But Xiaohu was the difference maker once again, kind of sealing the deal in that laning phase and mid game for Weibo on the Talia, and Light finished it off on the Callista, securing some objectives, securing some kills with his Rens, and he did lead the team in damage, like I said, 32%. Crisp going deathless. The Renata game in game two was very clean, but at the same time, when I take both games into account and the fact that Rare Adam were ahead by so much in game one and Xiaohu brought them back, I think that is the MVP performance of that series. That was the difference. Game 2, Thunder Talk LNG. Thunder Talk win this one 2-1. LNG were 6th in my power rankings. 1XN 929, 26% of damage in the win. Chow Chow 0525 had the best KDA. So honestly, that sums up this series. The bot lane went 9-7 and 34, and they were the 2 players that I have highlighted for Thunder Talk. Hoya being the MVP, and I'll go into that because I'm sure a lot of people want to make it 1XN or UCal. Zika 949, 30% of damage in the loss. So, very tight series. All 3 laning phases within 300 gold or less. The mid game was the difference. So, game 1, in terms of setup, not a lot really happening in the first 14 and a half minutes. Significant gold leads in mid and bot, though. Scout had 22 in mid over UCal, and then Thunder Talk had 26, 1XN on the Lucian, playing very aggressive, and Heli played very aggressive on the Aphelios in game 2 also. But in the end, Hoya in game 3 kind of seals it for me. He played well in all 3 games at some point, which 1xn, I felt like, he played well in game 3, but it wasn't a standout as much as Hoya was in the late game team fights on the Udyr. So Hoya on the K'Sante sealed the deal in team fights in the very late game in game 1, piloting the champion well, and he would do that again in game 2, solo killing Zika at one point. Laning phase in game 2 was about 15 minutes. The biggest gold lead was 13 CS for LNG's bot lane. LNG had a lead in all 4 lanes or position battles, if you will. And they really set the tone for this one. Bechuan had no answer for Weiwei. Weiwei gapped him. Frankly, in games 2 and 3, I looked at the Discord and they thought Weiwei struggled. I thought he was excellent on the Lee Sin, and in terms of making things happen in game 2, he really was one step ahead Bechuan for the entirety. K'Sante, though, like I said, Hoya had a solo, which is something to note. 1xn on the Aphelios playing very aggressive. He and Chow Chow getting a 2v2 kill pretty much onto Gala and Mark. And in the end, it was Gala's Lucian that won the team fights for them, dealing damage alongside Scout on the Azir, and just kind of finished game 2 off. Game 3, Bechuan had 25 CS playing Brand Jungle into Weiwei's Lee Sin, and it was a situation where you have a facilitator in Lee Sin versus a carry in Bechuan and Brand. And Bechuan died like 8 times in this game, but did deal heavy damage in the late game, which is why I noted him on here. But Weiwei did solo kill the Brand in the early game and set the tone. He went bot a couple times. Went top a couple times, secured a couple Drakes. Bechuan and Thundertalk would go bot a couple times, trying to help 1xn and Chow Chow. Zika on the Jack solo killed Hoya to wash out what had happened earlier. But in the late game, when the team fights were occurring, because LNG threw this one. We think Rare Adam threw game 1. LNG really threw game 2. They were up more than a handful of gold in terms of thousands of gold in the mid game. Had objectives and just completely threw it away. Hoya securing a couple kills, helping the team with a good TP on bot side. And then in the late game team fight, he was just solo fighting like multiple players of LNG in the back line as Thundertalk started dealing damage with 1xn and UCal. And a lot of people are going to look at the damage and say, oh, well, these guys made the difference. And really, they did, but 1xn only had 26% of the team's damage in 3 games, right? So it wasn't crazy percentage, and that's in part because of Bechuan playing Brand, and at the same time, it does have to be noted, it wasn't 40% of the team's damage, right? So Bechuan and the Brand dealing some damage. 1xn playing aggressive, helped Thundertalk come back, but Hoya, in my opinion on the Udyr, soaking up all that damage, being a nuisance, was what won them game 3 in those final team fights. And not to mention, he did have a solo kill in game 2, and I thought on the K'Sante he was important to the team's success when they won that game. LCK, we have D Plus and Nongshim, 15-minute game 1. Actually, let's go over this first. So, D Plus 11th in my power ranking is Nongshim 25th. D Plus win 2-0. Showmaker was MVP, 17-1-6, 37% of damage. Aiming, 8-0-17 would go Deathless. Jiwoo, 174, 34% of damage in the loss. And to really think about this, Lucid played his best series so far of the 3. He gapped Sylvie in game 1, something terrible. Sylvie was read like a book, and Lucid just stole all his camps. It was actually quite rude. Laning phase after 15 minutes, D Plus were up 4k gold. Nongshim's lead at all was in top lane. Din Din solo killed Kingen. But Lucid on the Rel really getting ahead of the Wukong and eliminating him from the Rift. Showmaker on LeBlanc solo killing Call Me at one point, solo killing I think he solo killed all 3 carries for Nongshim, whether it was Din Din, Call Me, or Jiwoo. And that in and of itself, you could say, okay, that's MVP level. And I think you can make the case as well as for Lucid. I thought he was excellent. And he went bot side twice, helping Aiming and Kellen. And they just blew him out. And in game 2, it was, what do I have here? A 4.2k gold lead, I think. I believe so. And that was because Lucid went mid and got Showmaker ahead on the Kassadin. And once you get a Kassadin ahead, all hell breaks loose. There were 6 instances where that mid lane matchup was affected in the first 19 minutes of the game, a very long laning phase before a turret was taken, and the Kassadin was just completely fed. Showmaker would end up getting a pentakill, which is why he automatically gets MVP. If you're new to the channel, pentas mean automatic MVP by my standards. Lucid, though, like I said on the rel, really helped propel him to that. And Kingen on the Aatrox had a key team fight as well, where he got a few kills. And actually, more I think about it, it wasn't as clean as I think D plus were ahead by quite a bit. But to seal the deal in that one as well, Kingen I think had a triple on the Aatrox. And then in game 2 on the Aatrox came through in team fights in the late game also. But I mean, at that point, Kassadin was so strong, it didn't make a difference whether Kingen was dealing damage or not. Showmaker was just on another level. On the LeBlanc in game 1, he was on another level. The mid-jungle duo really gapped Nongshim in this series. Series 2, Brian and Gen G. Brian second. Oh, almost threw up my mouth. No way. Gen G second in my power rankings. 2-0. They would win. Chovy MVP. 15-3-12. 37% of damage on the Corki and Jace. Over 1100 DPM. Pays 13-1-16. Karis 3-6-3. 25% of damage in the loss. Game 1, Gen G really took it to them. Up 4k gold at 1630. All 4 areas they were ahead. Up 42 CS in bot lane. Gideon on the Graves just could not. So he solo killed Canyon. But at the same time, Canyon just was all over the place. And Chovy on the Corki also very aggressive in finding opportunities. Lahen's on the Nautilus. His hooks were on point that really got Gen G ahead as well. Keen on the Kayasante, getting some kills in the late game. Morgan on the Aatrox kind of stalled things out for a moment. I thought that they had a chance to maybe make this a turnaround game. Brian did beat Gen G last year, so it wouldn't be out of the question for Brian to find a way. But Chovy was just too strong on the Corki, and Brian really didn't have much. And honestly, it's too bad that Gideon really couldn't execute on the advantages he had on the Graves. We haven't seen many Graves this year, and he tried. Game 2, a little bit closer at the end of laning phase. 14 minutes, only 1.5k gold lead for Gen G. It would balloon after that, shortly after. 38 CS lead for the bot lane duo. Brian went with a Senna bot, I think, in both games. And they just were gapped. 80 CS in 2 games is quite a diffy. Keen on the Udyr, 2 solo kills in game 2. Gen G clearly not even caring about the top lane. Honestly, Brian made 2 trips to the top lane matchup in laning phase where Gen G didn't at all. And in the end, Keen still had 2 solo kills. Gideon on the Lee Sin was effective in keeping the game close, but it just wasn't enough. Effort on the Nami, a key bubble in mid-game team fights or towards the end of laning phase. But alas, it really doesn't matter because Chovy on the Jace was just dealing so much damage, had a couple double kills, and just got ahead of everybody. And it kind of happened in game 1 as well with the Corki. He was just dealing a ton of damage. He was the carry, and there was no real threat by Brian once he got going. So, pretty predictable when it comes to that. The Thunder Talk series, though, like I said, it's on me in my power rankings. That's why that happened. Sneak peek, LPL, Team World Elite in Anyone's Legend. Anyone's Legend, 16th, 1-0, coming off of a win against FPX. Team Wii, 0-1, coming off of a loss to OMG. Last time they played, Team Wii would win 2-0. Only 2 of the 10 players are the same from that one. Both are on Team Wii. Hang and Iwandi. Hang would go 4-3-12, 13% of damage in the win. OMG and FPX play after that. OMG beating Team Wii and FPX losing to Anyone's Legend. Last time they played, OMG would win 2-1. Only 3 of the 10 players remain from that starting lineup. Starry is playing again for OMG. Milky Way playing for FPX instead of Moan. PP God would go 3-4 and 5% of damage at support for OMG. And then RNG and BLG to finish it off. That's a solid series. RNG coming off of a win against EDG, 13th in my power rankings. BLG 1st in my power rankings, coming off of a win against Top Esports. Last time they played, BLG would win 2-1. 7 of the 10 starters are the same. Bin and Shun would go 21, 22, and 46, 39% of damage. Breathe and Way, 26, 21, and 49 for 33% of damage in the loss. LCK preview, Telecom War, T1 KT, T1 4th in the power rankings, coming off of a win against KDF, 1-1. KT, 2-1, 10th in the power rankings, coming off of a loss to KDF earlier this week. Last time they played, T1 would win 3-2 in LCK playoffs. 6 of the 10 starters are the same. The mid lane matchup is the only one that holds true. Faker, 12, 13, 30, 24% of damage in the win. BDD, 15, 12, 28, and 29% of damage in the loss. So the battle of the facilitators. Lastly, FearX versus DRX. FearX 1-2, losing to HLE. DRX 0-2, losing to HLE as well. Last time they played, FearX, then known as Live Sandbox, with 2-0 DRX. 4 of the 10 players are the same. Clear in the victory would go 4-2-17, 21% of damage. Rascal, 3-11-1 with 34% of damage in the loss, trying to 1v9 and couldn't get over the hump. So that's it for today's Daily Dose. Thank you for watching. If you like the video, like it. Subscribe to the channel for daily League of Legends content. Follow me on Twitter, join the Discord, become a YouTube supporter, and hope to see you again tomorrow.